Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. I am your host Shantae, and this is the Girlfriends and Gossip podcast. Here I like to remind you all that this will always be a safe space full of love, light, truth, and transparency. Here we will only uplift and never tear down. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We are delighted to have you. And if this is not your first time and you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. As always, before we get started with the topic of the day, I like to give you the tea. Today's tea concoction is still and always will be one of my faves. It is the Teavana Peach Tranquility with Peppermint Celestial Seasonings and a little bit of Chamomile. This PJ set that I have on, which isn't actually a pajama set, it's a loungewear set. I got this a couple years back, but I found it on Nastygal, so I will post a picture for the full length and also link the descriptions of everything from the tee to the lounge set in the description box. And one other thing I'm going to add to the description box today too is this hairstyle, because I've gotten a lot of compliments on it, and in staying true to my goals and what I'm trying to do this year, I decided to kind of do more of my own hairstyles this year. So I will link the description to this hair in the description box as well. So let's jump right into it. Today's topic of discussion is going to be all about Godfidence, confidence, and self-esteem. And when I got this, it was just based off of a conversation that I had been having with my oldest daughter, and I'm realizing that it's important to really just establish a sense of self-esteem and self-confidence in her at a young age, so that the older she gets, she's not as impacted by other people's opinion or thoughts about who she is or how she should look. So let's get into it. So the first thing I think about when I think about confidence is Godfidence. And I wanted to start with Godfidence because I know that it is through him that I am able to have confidence in knowing who I am and whose I am. So the very first thing when I think about confidence and self-esteem is Godfidence, and that means know who you are and whose you are. The next bit of advice that I could give you when you're trying to build confidence and build up your self-esteem would be to practice it. I will never forget, one of my favorite shows was Insecure by Issa Rae, and some of my favorite scenes were watching her in the mirror just have these dialogues and conversations with herself, playing out these different scenarios of how she planned for a conversation to go. And I thought to myself, that is such a powerful thing, because number one, if you've ever talked to yourself in the mirror, you realize that's a kind of a difficult thing to do, because it just puts you front and center with who you are. And number two, I think it's a great thing because it absolutely builds that confidence. It's almost like you talking to yourself and hyping yourself up. So the next thing that I would say is to practice hyping yourself up, because if you practice hyping yourself up, then you'll be able to hype up others with little to no effort at all. The next bit of advice that I would give is to get into a habit of shutting down self-doubt. There is no faster way for you to kill your confidence than to fuel your mind and to spend your time focusing on negative thoughts and self-doubt. And I say that because honestly, you're already going to have your own critics out there. And I always tell people, even though other people critique you, you are still your own worst critic, because you're the hardest on yourself. You put these thoughts into your mind and it's a battle, and no one can change that but you. So the next thing that I would do is to just get into the habit of, as soon as you hear those negative thoughts, shut them down. The negative thoughts have no place here. Self-doubt has no place here. Other people's opinion about what you should look like or who you are have no space here. And if you get into the habit of telling yourself that, you will feel a lot more confident, and it actually builds your self-esteem. The next bit of advice I would give you is, even with the self-doubt or the practicing what it is that you want to see within yourself, is to give yourself grace, because we all know that sometimes we're going to have those fleeting thoughts, or sometimes we understand that we're not always going to be as confident as we would like to be, and we're not always going to have the highest of self-esteem. But what is important is, when you have those moments, you don't live there, and you give yourself enough grace to say, okay, I'm having this moment, I've had these thoughts, but you know what, those thoughts aren't true. I'm human just like anyone else, but I choose not to live here. Give yourself grace. Take it easy on yourself. Don't be so tough on yourself. Don't be your own worst critic. Next bit of advice that I would give is to make sure you're not comparing yourself to other people. And I know that a lot of times we don't actively go out and do that, but this is the age of social media, and I know that a lot of times we tend to think that other people might have it. They might be further in life than you are. They may be doing big things, stepping out, doing some of the things that you would like to do. In situations like that, it's not meant for you to compare yourself, but it means that, sure, there are some characteristics that you may see in other people that you desire for yourself, but what it means is you're not putting yourself down because you don't have those characteristics that the other person possesses, or you don't have those things that the other person possesses. And in saying that, I want to say your self-esteem and your self-confidence will never come from materialistic things. I think it's very, very important to seek some form of therapy that helps you, number one, understand where those things come from, and number two, how you can heal those things. So if that's where you're pulling your confidence from or your self-esteem from, you really, really need to just redirect and get to the root of why you feel like those things might validate who you are, because they don't. God validates who you are. We're not meant to be anybody other than who we are. We don't have to be anyone other than who we are. We are enough. And if you get into the habit of telling yourself that, your self-confidence and your self-esteem will truly, truly be transformed into the Godfidence that He wants us all to have. In not just Him, but in ourselves. The next bit of advice that I can give you is to stay away from negative people. I used to say it all the time, misery likes company, and that is the absolute truth, because a lot of times when people are miserable, they just want somebody to be miserable with them. Stay away from people who constantly just pick themselves apart. That is, to me, very, very much so unhealthy, and it is just not who God has designed us to be. He wants us to love ourselves. He wants us to be confident in ourselves. He wants us to know that we are enough. And so if you surround yourself with those negative people who have those same negative and self-doubting thoughts, you're going to become those same people. And so just to safeguard yourself and to safeguard your mind, just stay away from those negative people. The last bit of advice I can give you is to take a pause from social media. And I say that because I have kids, and I want my kids to know that the images sometimes that they see on social media or online aren't always actual depictions of real life situations. We live in the age where these young girls are going to get all of these cosmetic surgeries, and a lot of them haven't even lived long enough to know that, like, your body will change over time. And so I think it's important, because I am a parent, is to just instill all of those things in my kids at this age, so that they're not struggling with body images or low self-esteem or low confidence. It is absolutely crucial that you yourself as a parent are giving your kids positive affirmations instead of tearing them down. It is important that you yourself are speaking positive things over your kids' lives. It's important for them to see you be their cheerleader, because honestly, you're their first cheerleader. You're their first bit of confidence, and they look up to us. And so the last bit of advice I would give is to take a pause from social media and to make sure that your children and you, because I know adults who struggle with whole social media aspect as well, take a break. You don't have to always go online and scroll. You don't always have to just know what's going on social media wise. I think it's to me, and I say this all the time, and this could absolutely be probably another episode, but when you're out and you're having these good times and you are socially interacting and engaging with those around you, for me personally, I don't have time to take a million photos. I don't want to be on my phone when I am at dinner with my friends or out with my children. I want to be present. And so what I'm saying to you is take a pause from social media so that you can be present in your own life. So we've come to the end of today's topic, but I do want you to understand, just as a recap about everything that I'm saying, or all the advice that I'm giving you, it is not that we won't have these moments of self-doubt or little to no confidence or low self-esteem. It's just understanding that even though we have those thoughts, they should be fleeting thoughts, not thoughts where we decide to just pitch a tent and lay in them. The goal of what it is I'm trying to do is to ensure that you live your truth, but that you don't allow a lot of the things that keep us from thriving the way that God desires us to thrive is most often ourselves. And so there is nothing wrong with confidence. There is nothing wrong with having high self-esteem. I think it's just important to know that there needs to be a holy confidence that comes along with it, and a holy Godfidence that comes along with it. And so today's homework is going to be for you to write down some positive affirmations to tell yourself in those moments where self-doubt tends to arise, or you are having moments of low confidence and low self-esteem. And write them down, stick them in the mirror. Also comment some of your favorite positive affirmations, and I decided to share these with you all, the three main ones that I tend to use. The first one is to just know that when I'm dealing with difficult people, they're not worth me getting out of character for. I just tell myself, you're the daughter of a king. And when I say a king, I mean the king, because through him, I understand my place and my position, and I understand my worth and my value, and I understand that along with it comes high self-confidence and high self-esteem. And so I'm not going to do anything or say anything to tarnish the reputation of my Father, which is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. The next thing that I always tell myself is you are enough. You are absolutely enough. And the reason I can say that with assurance is because, again, I'm the daughter of the King. So I am more than enough through him. And the last thing that I always tell myself when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, or if I feel like I have a lot on my plate, is show up for yourself today. And for me, that means if I feel overwhelmed, if I feel like there is too much on my plate, guess what? I'm going to table a lot of those things and decide, what can I do today that shows that I'm showing up for myself? Did I do my exercise? Did I do my daily prayer and meditation? Did I take my medicines? Those are the things that I mean when I say, did you show up for yourself? As always, it has been time well spent. I pray that the things that I have imparted to you only help and not harm. And see you next time. Be blessed.